Matt Dickey, the best, worst game developer of all time. This innocent looking face is single-handedly responsible for making some of the worst games.
People joke about my games being broken,
But this is not it, because he has also made very controversial games about the Holy Bible, Quran, and even a game on Hinduism. But then why I said him the best game dev in the start of the video?
Revolution 3D has become the first combat sports game to reach the milestone of 100 million downloads, beating out UFC, boxing, and WWE combined. In fact, the only other games of any kind to ever take things that far have been billion-dollar franchises.
Well, it's not wrong to say that Matt Dickey has also created the games which don't have thousands but hundreds of millions of downloads. But if everything was going right, then why he had to retire not once but twice in his career? What is the story of Matt Dickey? And before that question, who is the Matt Dickey? Born in north of London in early 80s, Dickey grew up in the height of console era. In those days, his parents used to be busy whole day in running the newspaper shop they had. Out of boredom, Dickey would often sit at the back of the shop and he used to make his own games out of cardboard and other stuffs, which tells us that he wanted to become game developer from his childhood. The only difference was at that time he didn't had any computer to make video games. Moving forward to early 90s, Dickey's parents bought a new home computer named Amiga, in which Dickey used to run a software named D-Paint, which increased his curiosity towards game development. 1998, Matt Dickey took admission in University of Salford after passing out from his school. That was game-changing year in his life because he was learning about video games over there. On top of that, it was the same year he got his first personal computer. This was truly the breakthrough year in his career. As soon as he got computer, he walked through Woolworths, which was kind of a supermarket where Dickey used to live, and over there he spotted a package on the software shelves called TIV Game Studios. This was some sort of a game engine software which had easy to understand programming language. He brought it to his home and spent whole summer of that year to learn how to use that software with the examples and manual. After learning that software, it took Dickey only 2 weeks to make his first ever game, which was... One day when Dickey was 10 years old, his friend came to him and he showed him the trading card of Ultimate Warrior.
Earlier on, I had a chance to ask the Ultimate Warrior a very simple question, what he expected out of the WWF. He wasn't at a loss for words.
For all you WWF fans out there, look at this one cloud. It's Madison Square Garden out there.
History once again made here, Madison Square Garden.
He was totally stunned by seeing these larger-than-life characters, and he instantly fell in love with WWF. From seeing the weekly telecast of the show to playing every single video game related to wrestling, Dickey did that all which was centered around WWF. He played all the classics of that time, including WWF No Mercy, WWF WrestleFest, and Super Fire Pro Wrestling. Remember I said he used to make games with cardboard? Well, those were also based on WWF. First which he made was a card game on WWF wrestlers containing properties such as skill, agility, and strength for each specific player. He further expanded that universe by creating a board game in which your wrestler had to go through different arenas and fight with different wrestlers. This game was inspired by Talisman, which is a board game. Alright, enough of talking about his childhood. Now let's directly jump into the frame where he learned the software and created his first game. After learning that software, it took Dickey only 2 weeks to make his first ever game, which was Hardy Boys Stunt Challenge. Now as you know how huge of a fan Dickey was of wrestling in his childhood, then let me tell you, he as an adult was not any different. It was just that now he knew how to create games and wanted to make a full-fledged wrestling game. But creating a wrestling game was too huge and unrealistic project for Dicky at that time. Still, he had to start from somewhere. To create huge wrestling empire, he first had to create small colonies. He decided to create small games on different events happening inside WWF. He saw a wrestler doing high-flying moves on his opponent. He decided to make game on it. Diggy was more or less satisfied with his creation, so he decided to upload it on a website named Warzone by giving it the name Hardy Boys Stunt Challenge. The game became an overnight success. 15,000 people downloaded it in just 24 hours. Dicky's inbox was flooded with tons of emails with people telling him how they love his game. He got a fan mail saying, "Can we have more of this?" Seeing the success of his first game, he decided to create his own website where he can host all his games. And then what? He made back-to-back 10 small games in just 6 months on different feuds, storylines, and events happening inside WWF. Progressively, he was improving the art style, gameplay, and mechanic with release of each game. But this was all until 2001 because Matt moved to Manchester in 2001 as his course was in verge of completion. He was now getting a lot more busier than before. The only time he was getting free was weekends. In all this chaos, you might be thinking that he must have dropped his passion for creating the video games. But in the contradiction, he was making more and more games. He was taking a challenge that can he make a game out of anything. Something stupid happened in college last week, let's convert it into a game. Having created dozens of small games, he was now become confident enough to start his dream project of creating a full-fledged wrestling game. He decided to work on weekends and Christmas holidays for this project. Within 1 month or two, taking it as a side hustle, he finally created it and released it with the name Federation Online right after his college graduation.
Here we go.
The game sold well, and Dicky was making living out of creating video games right after his college graduation. But still, he was not satisfied. He felt that gameplay is lacking and graphics are awful. So he took another year and created an improved version of Federation Online, Federation Wrestling. Though in this game also, there were not much graphical changes. But the gameplay was improved significantly and more wrestlers were added in the roster. Being just 2 years into full-time game dev, he had created 2 successful wrestling games. But he didn't wanted to stop there. Dicky wanted to create sequel of Federation Wrestling, titled Federation Booker. This new game was also made in a year and released in 2003. This time, it was more than just a normal wrestling game. You play as the manager of Federation Online, and your aim is to make it the most popular TV show in the world. You compete against 3 major wrestling promotions, where All American Wrestling is parody of WWF. This game was so revolutionary that it inspired other big gaming companies to add GM mode in their wrestling game. After 2003 until 2008, Matt released a 3D wrestling game every 2 years. And then after 2008, he suddenly quit. Post 2003, he created many non-wrestling 3D games as well. The list of game includes recreation of his old 2D games into 3D, a 3D game inside which you can create movies and another in which you can create music. Also created a boxing game and first and only RPG football game in the world, and so on. But the list doesn't end here. He also created Hard Time, a 3D prison simulator, which later became one of the most popular video game in his entire career. At the time when most of the gaming companies were making one game and milking it into an entire franchise with never-ending repetitive sequels, this single man was experimenting new ideas every year. This only went well until he released New Testament. Short after the release, this game became the worst game ever made. Dickey saw that there are movies being made and songs being made on Jesus, then why not make a game on it? But if you think this one controversial game doesn't make his career worse, then he released one more controversial game, which would hurt the religious sentiment of Muslim community by showing face of their god Allah, which is prohibited in their religion. And even there was an option in the game where you can pull moves and throw punches on their god. Along with the controversies, by 2008, Dickey's games were in decline because of AAA games coming at that period of time. The gamer's expectation had become very high, which he wasn't able to meet. On top of that, he was not earning the minimum wage for the living, and hence, he thought he has given the best of his efforts in this industry and decided to retire from this profession and pursue a job as the teacher. His task was to introduce students with the interactive learning, which they found interesting for 1 or 2 days and then get bored. For Matt, it was fun experience, but this wasn't what he wanted to do. Aside pursuing this profession, he wrote 3 different books. All these different things he was doing not by will, but to pay the bills. Until 2012, he was unemployed in the starting of the year. His wife was advising him to pursue a stable job as they were going to get their first baby that year. But Matt decided to give one last try to the game development, and this time, this would be do or die. If things don't go well, then he was going to leave this industry forever. Dickey found that the below average PC games, which became the key reason for downfall of his career, are now seen as the high-end games for the mobile. He saw this as an opportunity for comeback. Idea was to recreate his finest PC wrestling game for mobile. Quickly he reopened the Wrestling Empires project file and literally took screenshot of every single model in the game. With all the screenshot ready in the folder, he started his work on the game, which was later gonna be called Wrestling Revolution. He took first 6 months of 2012 for making the game, and another 6 months he was fine-tuning it. Before the calendar leaves this year behind and moves on to the new one, he released the game. After the month, the game had crossed 50,000 downloads. By seeing the huge success of this game, he started remaking all of his PC games for Android. They had simple 2D graphics due to smartphones' limitation, but was served with the same fun gameplay as it was on PC. If you had smartphone between the year 2014 and 17 and ever wanted to play a wrestling game on it, then you must have played this game and vibed on this banger soundtrack. Released in 2014, Wrestling Revolution 3D became the most downloaded game in Dickey's entire career, with a massive 100 million plus downloads on Play Store.
Beating out UFC, boxing, and WWE combined. In fact, the only other games of any kind to ever take things that far have been billion-dollar franchises.
In a real sense, Dickey had reached at the peak of his career after this game. Money was flowing in his bank account like never before. His games were popular not just in England or Europe, but in the whole world. He continued creating games for Android. He released a 2D school simulator, a MMA game, a 2D superhero game, a 2D zombie game, and a 2D time traveling game. He also made a remake of his highly controversial PC game, New Testament, and this also became huge success on mobile, crossing 5 million plus downloads. In the past 7 years, Dickey achieved all the fame and money he ever wanted to achieve in his life and had no further purpose left to continue the game development. He finally retired in 2018, not because of any controversy, market competition, or financial issues. He retired as he had nothing left in him to give to this industry. Been serving for around 18 years with over 45 plus games for PC and mobile, he finally stopped. Or not.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Turned out that it was just a small 1-year break from the industry. Up till this time, Dickey used Adobe Flash to make games, which is why in his run from 2012 to 18, majority made games were 2D, and the only two 3D games he made ran on eye-wateringly low frame rate. In the year of, he learned Unity game engine, which made him capable to make games with higher resolution for 3D at a smoother frame rate. And the best part was he could now release games simultaneously for PC, mobile and console. Matt took whole 2020 for making the remake of his 2008's classic Wrestling Empire, and he wanted to release it on November of 2020 for Nintendo Switch and other platforms. But Nintendo denied that thing, and Matt failed to release the game in the November. However, that time Matt utilized to make a good trailer for the game. He got approval from Nintendo in January 2021, and he released the game then. Porting the game to Switch introduced multiplayer gameplay, which was never seen and sounded impossible in Dickey's games. Along with the high graphics, this was something his wrestling games lagged behind when comparing to other AAA titles. Since the release, game has surpassed 10 million downloads, combining all the 4 platforms. This game was the grandest of all the wrestling games he has ever released in his career. Apart from playing a simple wrestling career or managing an entire wrestling brand, you can roam anywhere outside the ring and do whatever you wanna do with no restrictions. After this game, he has released several past games 3D remastered versions for all platforms at the same time, but none of them has achieved same fame as Wrestling Empire. Alright folks, that's the end of the video. It took me a very long time to make this video, so if you really enjoyed watching it, then please drop a like to make me feel good. Also do subscribe for more high quality game development content. Till the next video comes, go watch this series where I make PUBG Mobile in 2D.